Good? All right, thanks everybody for being here tonight. We're going to go ahead and get started with the pre-meeting. Get ready for our 6 o'clock council meeting. First item is approval of minutes. We got August 8th, 2022, 5 p.m. council work session. August 15th, 2022, 9:30 a.m. council work session. August 15th, 2022, 10 a.m. council meeting. August 23rd, 2022, 10 a.m. special called council meeting. Any questions? All right, set public hearings. Ordinance 22-4529, approve rezoning request 140122 to rezone approximately 6.69 acres from R1 single family residential to R4 multifamily residential located at 2616 Arms Avenue Southeast.
No change.
All right, any questions? All right, that's set public hearing for October 3rd, 2022, 6 p.m. Resolution 22-214, approve abatement of unsafe conditions at 507 13th Avenue Northwest, set public hearing to be held on October 3rd, 2022, 6 p.m. Any questions? Resolution 22-215, approve abatement of unsafe conditions at 504 Finley Drive Northwest, set public hearing to be held on October 3rd, 2022 at 6 p.m. Any questions? Resolution 22-216, approve abatement of unsafe conditions at 406 5th Avenue Northwest, set public hearing to be held on October 3rd, 2022 at 6 p.m. Any questions? All right, public hearings. Ordinance number 22-4523, approve pre-zoning request 139822 for Castle Rock Global Holdings LLC located south of 3102 Modus Road Southwest to an R5 single family patio home district. Public hearing was set August 1st, 2022.
No change.
All right, any questions? Ordinance 22-4524, approve rezoning request 139922 of approximately 53.44 acres from Ag 1 and Ag 2 to an R5 single family patio home district. Public hearing was set August 1st, 2022.
No changes.
Any questions? Ordinance 22-4525, approve rezoning request 1422 land services from an Ag 1 agricultural district to a PRD 7 planned residential district. Public hearing was set August 1st, 2022.
No change.
Any questions? Resolution 22-217, approve request for off-premise beer and wine alcohol license for River Bridge Shell doing business as Kipco Incorporated at 915 6th Avenue Northeast, Decatur, Alabama 35601.
No changes.
Any questions? Resolution 22-218, approve request for on and off-premise wine license for the Little Cigar Shop at 110 2nd Avenue Northeast, Decatur, Alabama 35601.
No changes.
Any questions? David, anything on the weed abatements?
No changes on any.
Okay, any questions on those weed abatements? All right, moving to resolutions. Resolution number 22-228, accept the Alabama Historical Commission grant to update Decatur's HPC design review guidelines.
No changes unless the council has questions.
Any questions? Resolution 22-229, accept the proposal of the master planning process of Wilson Morgan in reference to the new recreation center.
No change.
All right, any questions? All right, accept donation from GE Appliances in the amount of $750 for facility upgrades at Decatur Fire and Rescue Training Center.
No changes.
Any questions? Resolution 22-232, declare items no longer needed by the City of Decatur Information Services Department as surplus and authorize disposal.
You want to change that list I provided you all?
Yeah, there's some additional items that Brad passed out. Any questions on those? All right, resolution 22-233, approve Decatur Downtown Redevelopment Authority conveyance of 2 tracks to satisfy debt proposal.
There's no changes on that.
All right, any questions? Resolution 22-234, approve request for a special use permit from Verizon Wireless to modify equipment on an existing tower located at 401 McIntyre Lane.
No changes.
Any questions? All right, resolution 22-235, approve Pryorfield Regional Airport FAA grant.
That's the same as was presented before. It's just a small grant. And since we're one of the owners of the property, we have to approve it.
All right, any questions? Resolution number 22-237, intergovernmental agreement with Decatur City Board of Education regarding recreational facilities and parking lot at Austin High School.
There was a few changes. We sent out the latest one this afternoon, but basically there was some renumbering of some paragraphs. It also provided, if they're in breach and we terminate, then they still have to pay, and reciprocal of that if vice versa. That just clarified that. Those are the changes, and then there was a typographical error as relates to one of the figures. The elements of it have not changed.
Okay, any questions? Resolution 22-238, authorize Holland property purchase for recreational complex near Austin High School. Jason, Herman?
Well, there's no changes to that.
Okay. Any questions?
We appreciate Mr. Brown, the attorney, helping us, and but there's no changes from what we presented at the last meeting.
Okay.
Sure.
Resolution 22-239, adopt revised job classification and pay plan.
No changes.
All right, any questions? All right, ordinances, first reading, ordinance 22-4530, approve request for limousine license for Select Transportation LLC at 445 East Moulton Street, Northeast, Decatur, Alabama 35601. And they were, I think Lori asked for immediate consideration.
Yes, no changes. We are asking for immediate consideration.
All right, any questions? Ordinance 22-4531, approve annexation 36922 and 11.17 acre property located at 2319 Old Moulton Road Southwest.
There's no changes, but we would ask for immediate consideration on this also.
All right, any questions?
Well, the reason for that, I think that was shared, is there's another annexation that relies on this one for contiguity. So that's the reason for the double vote.
And there's a time frame to hit
Right, and
with
they're
your
both,
pre-zoning.
they're both commercial development, so that would
Yeah.
help them both, help us and them.
All right, we will get started at 6. Thanks. Call the meeting to order. Reverend Miriam Smith from Central United Methodist Church will lead us in our invocation and pledge.
Let us pray. Almighty God, may your Spirit fill this place this evening. May we find that our hearts are moved for the good of all. Lord, may we be blessings with that with which you have blessed us. We ask for wisdom. We ask for discernment. We ask for your guidance. We ask all of these things boldly in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Miriam.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Wagner.
Here.
McMasters.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Pike.
Here.
Pepper.
Here. All right, we'll move into our agenda. First on the agenda is approval of minutes. We'll take A and then B, C, and D together. So first is A, August 8th, 2022, 5 p.m. council work session.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. McMaster, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Wagner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike. Pepper.
Aye. Those minutes are approved 5-0. For the next three together, we have a motion.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. McMaster, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Wagner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
Abstain.
Pike. Pepper.
Aye. The minutes are approved 4-0 with one abstention. Next, we have set public hearings. Ordinance number 224529, approve rezoning request 140122 to rezone approximately 6.69 acres from R1 single-family residential to R4 multifamily residential located at 2616 Arms Avenue Southeast. Set public hearing for October 3rd, 2022 at 6 p.m.
Thank you, Councilman, Mayor, and Council. This is one single lot that is just north of Arms Avenue. It's going to be part of a larger development, which is east of the Target Shopping Center.
All right, any questions or comments? All right, thanks, Matt. Resolution 22-214, approve abatement of unsafe conditions at 507 13th Avenue Northwest. Set public hearing to be held on October 3rd, 2022 at 6 p.m. Any questions for David? All right, resolution number 22-215, approve abatement of unsafe conditions at 504 Finley Drive Northwest. Set public hearing to be held on October 3rd, 2022 at 6 p.m. David? All right, any questions on that one? Resolution 22-216, approve abatement of unsafe conditions at 406 Fifth Avenue Northwest. Set public hearing to be held on October 3rd, 2022 at 6 p.m. Any questions? All right, move to public hearings. Ordinance number 224523, approve pre-zoning request 139822 for Castle Rock Global Holdings LLC located south of 3102 Modus Road Southwest to an R5 single-family patio home district. Public hearing was set August 1st, 2022.
All right, this is a small parcel. Like you said, it's just south of 3102. It's 1.86 acres. This also will fit in with the next rezoning. If this is approved, then it will be annexed at this, with this new zone.
All right, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone here to speak on this item, you can speak now. All right, seeing no one here to speak, we'll consider the public hearing closed.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Wagner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Ordinance 224523 is approved 5-0. Next is ordinance 224524, approve rezoning request 139922, approximately 53.44 acres from Ag 1 and Ag 2 to an R5 single family patio home district. Public hearing was set August 1st, 2022.
All right, and this is the parcel just to the east of the last pre-zoning. Like you said, it's 53.44 acres. When you combine the two together, it'll be 55.3 acres.
All right, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone here to speak on this item, you can speak now. Seeing no one here to speak, we'll consider the public hearing closed.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McMasters. Second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Ordinance 224524 is approved 5-0. Next is ordinance number 224525, approve rezoning request 1422 land services from an Ag 1 agricultural district to a PRD 7 planned residential district. Public hearing was set August 1st, 2022.
Yes, sir. And this, if approved tonight, the next step, we will have a master development plan that will come through the Planning Commission, which I know some people may not be familiar with it, but it gives a little bit more control for the Planning Commission. So these lots, rather than being 5,000 square feet, they'll be 4,000 square feet, but the whole thing will be platted at one time. So that way we have a little better understanding of how things will fit together, and then they can be built in phases.
Does that include landscape requirements and things like that?
It does, and they're very specific. That's why PRD 7 would be different than an 8. They have slightly different requirements. There will be a common area and around 240 units if you include, it's about 211 single-family lots with about 38, some in that category for the townhomes.
Okay. This is also a public hearing. If there's anyone here to speak on this item, you can speak now. All right, consider the public hearing closed.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. McMaster, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Ordinance, where was it? 224525 is approved, 5-0. Thanks, Matt. Resolution 22217, approved request for off-premise beer and wine alcohol license for River Bridge Shell, doing business as Kipco Incorporated at 915 6th Avenue Northeast, Decatur, Alabama 35601.
Okay, this is an ownership change.
All right, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone here to speak on this item, you can speak now. All right, we will consider the public hearing closed.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 22217 is approved 5-0. Resolution 22218, approved request for on and off premise wine license for the Little Cigar Shop at 110 2nd Avenue Northeast, Decatur, Alabama 35601.
This is new to this establishment, but also an owner change.
All right, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone here to speak on this item, you can speak now. Seeing no one here to speak, we'll consider the public hearing closed.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? This is right next to the Princess
It
upstairs.
is.
All right, any other discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 22218 is approved 5-0. Next, we have our weed abatements. We'll take those all at once. David, anything of note on
No,
these?
sir, no changes on any of them.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper,
Second.
second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion on these?
I've agreed to do all of these at once, but my position is still the same. I think that we lack the proper maintenance of our right-of-ways and throughout our city. And I think that it's a contradiction to fine people, even though I think that everyone should take care of their property. I think it's a contradiction to fine people when we're not doing what we need to do.
Thanks, Mr. Jackson. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
All of the weed abatements are approved with a vote of 4-1. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Resolutions, resolution number 22228, accept the Alabama Historical Commission grant to update Decatur's HPC design review guidelines.
Yes, Mr. President, Council, Mayor. This grant will just allow the HPC to update our design guidelines, which are badly in need of updating. So we just request your approval to accept this grant.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pike,
Second.
Second by Mr. McMasters. Any discussion? And this is a grant we had approved to apply for, and now we're just
Yep,
accepting.
we're just accepting now.
All right, any other discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 22-228 is approved 5-0. Resolution 22-229, accept the proposal of the master planning process of Wilson Morgan in reference to the new recreation center.
Council, Mayor, we're excited to bring forth an opportunity to reevaluate and get ready to get Wilson Morgan in good shape for the new rec center that's going to be there. So we feel like with this master plan, we'll be able to give Decatur really something nice out there. And also Jason Harper with GMC's here if you have any questions as far as the specifics of the plan. So,
Excited about it.
me too, me too.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McMaster, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion?
I've opposed this the entire time. I think that the location is not centrally located for all of our citizens to share in on it. It's removing a rec center from a specific neighborhood that is in need of a rec center, and so with no plan to replace it there, so I will not support this tonight.
Thanks, Mr. Jackson. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 22-229 is approved with a vote of 4-1. Resolution 22-231, accept donation from GE Appliances in the amount of $750 for facility upgrades at Decatur Fire and Rescue Training Center.
Council, Tracy Thornton, Decatur Fire. So a lot of the industry come out and train at our training facility. GE is one of them. They came out and noticed one of our props needed to upgrade. The wood was rotted on several places. So that's what this donation was for us to replace that wood on the prop.
So
Motion by Mr. McMasters,
second.
second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 22-231 is approved 5-0. Next, we have Resolution 22-232, declare items no longer needed by the City of Decatur Information Services Department as surplus and authorize disposal. Brad?
Mayor Council, Brad Phillips, Director of Information Systems. This is that thing we do a couple times a year to get rid of electronic equipment we no longer need. I ask you to pass this to dispose of it so we can put it up for recycling.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McMasters,
Second.
second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 22-232 is approved 5-0. Next is Resolution 22-233, approved Decatur Downtown Redevelopment Authority conveyance of 2 tracks to satisfy debt proposal. Mr. Backus? Ms. Thomas?
Doug Backus. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for entertaining this offer for the downtown redevelopment to convey 2 tracts of land. The Jones Park, located at the intersection of Moulton Street and 6th Avenue and the Walden Oaks Park, to convey both tracts to the city. DDRA had committed as part of development of the depot to support that. And DDRA offers unanimously and quite a bit of support from the board and Ms. Thomas to provide those tracts to the city in place of that debt from the depot.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pike,
Second.
second by Mr. McMasters. Any discussion?
Is there a reason that you couldn't have sold these and put the difference back into your coffers? And
None. This was just the first idea to offer it to the city first.
well, and I guess, and I think we all know that our news articles can be wrong, but it was said in the newspaper that there's interest already shown in these pieces of property. And Herman, we can only purchase property if we're going to utilize it for a city need. Is that not accurate?
Well, I believe both of these are city needs. Both of them are, we spent money, I know, on the 6th Avenue project, that open space. So the city has an interest in those already.
But
But
what do we?
they're open space and
The
there's.
point is that if we're gonna sell it, or we don't have an immediate need for it, I don't know that we can
We're not
actually-
selling them.
We may.
There's
We may,
interest.
yeah, if we get ready to sell them, we would put them on the open market, sure.
But
would.
that goes against what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to acquire land if we have a specific use for it.
I understand, but we have a specific use for those because that's been a partnership with Downtown Redevelopment Authority ever since they've existed.
Then
Those are
what's
open
this-
spaces. We maintain them already.
What's the specific use then?
They're open space for the enjoyment, just like the park right up here, for the enjoyment of the general public. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I'm just saying that the city does already have an interest in both of these,
I just,
and citizens.
you know, it's kinda interesting that the DDRA could sell it, make $100,000 more than their debt to the city. They could pay off the city. They would have $100,000 into their coffers. We're getting it, and we're only supposed to acquire land if we have a specific use for it. And I don't know that I've heard that there's a specific use for this property, other than open.
Well, it's like any other open space, green space that the city maintains and uses.
But-
Now, maybe Kelly can,
But like I said, the article, Dane could have been wrong. The article expressed that there's interest in this. So that kind of leads us to believe that we're looking at the possibility of selling.
I think there's interest in any property along Sixth Avenue, just because it's a main thoroughfare. But can you clarify, Herman, would it not be in the city's interest to even just, I'm not talking about this property, but just in general, to land bank property in a specific location?
especially open space like
Yeah.
this, yes,
Or any space?
yes.
that You could eventually redevelop or sell to a developer.
Rather, because there's not gonna be additional land. It's-
I don't know if that's permissible, but anyway, we can discuss that later, but I don't know if
ADM
that's
would be an
permissible.
example of that, wouldn't
The what?
it? Well, we didn't buy ADM, but
It was given, that
Yeah.
was given.
But
to
it's a
us.
land bank.
It's a totally different animal.
I'm very interested in the answer to that, honestly, Herman, because I do think we should be strategic in land banking when possible, in strategic locations. So if
Well,
we can't do that, I
let's-
think it's
Let's do it
important to
this
know.
way. If the council is persuaded it is in the best interest of the city to acquire these properties for future use, that's what you should base it on. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with us acquiring property in this nature. It's open space, downtown.
And if we were to
we-
eventually sell it, we could sell it no less than appraised value, correct?
Well, that's
No.
what we normally,
Unless
we've
it
learned,
serves
yes,
a
we
public
normally, yes, on this situation, we would advertise it and get the best price, but we would not accept less than appraised value.
I'll just simply say,
Listen.
I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right, but let's move forward.
And
I
to
don't think
Mr.
that's
Judge,
right.
I'm interested in the answer to
Yeah,
that.
okay, what's not right? Tell me what's not right.
I don't think that we can acquire land unless we have a specific use for it. If we're gonna build a firehouse there, if we're gonna build a police precinct there, if we're going to put a public, utilities warehouse there or something, I don't know that we can just purchase it for the sake of future use. I don't know that we can do that.
Well, but I guess we're already maintaining these. The city is already invested in both of these properties.
Because we're maintaining it, doesn't mean that we have use for it, Herman.
It's certain, I'm not trying to, I'm just trying to answer. It apparently has a public purpose, or we wouldn't be invested in the maintenance of the properties. But yes, we can acquire property. These properties are a real asset, whether the city owns them or DDRA owns them.
Well, let's be clear. I don't have a problem with the city, I guess I do in effect, have a problem with the city. I just have a problem with the fact that we're going against what I think is code. So that's where I am on this, so.
Well, now, please, I'm not advocating that you accept this
I
offer.
understand. I'm just telling
It's
you,
y'all's decision
I
to
don't
make
think
that.
that this is code, so anyway, that's where we are. That's just me.
Well, okay.
I just wanted to address Councilman Jackson's question about the use. So right now, the Sixth Avenue Park is being used as a beautification enhancement for Sixth Avenue, and the Walden Oaks Park is a public use park. So we have a lot of citizens that actually use that park on a daily basis.
We could actually use that if it were not owned by the city too, though. I mean, so that, I appreciate that. All right.
All right, any other discussion? Roll call?
Ladner,
Aye.
McMaster's.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye. Resolution 22-233 is approved 4-1. Resolution 22-234, approved request for a special use permit from Verizon Wireless to modify equipment on an existing tower located at 401 McIntyre Lane.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Renee Bass with CMS. What we have before us tonight is an application by Verizon Wireless to modify the equipment on an existing monopole tower that's located at 401 McIntyre Lane. It's a 160-foot monopower pole. Verizon currently has 12 antennas on the pole. They're proposing to remove 6 of the existing antennas and replace it with 6 new antennas and the associated equipment. It will not change the height of the tower or the aesthetics of the tower. The configuration will be the same at the end with 12 antennas. It's a technology upgrade, so it should improve the service in the area. CMS has reviewed the application, and it's our recommendation for approval.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Mr. McMaster, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call?
Ladner.
Aye.
McMaster's.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye. Resolution 22-234 is approved 5-0. Next is Resolution 22-235, approved Pryor Field Regional Airport FAA grant.
Since we're partial owners of the airport, FAA requires us as the owners to agree to this grant. It's a $40,000 grant. It's for planning. It's part of the improvements at the airport. That's what this does. Authorizes the mayor to sign the grant, along with the other 3 entities.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McMasters,
Second.
second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call?
Ladner.
Aye.
McMaster's.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye. Resolution 22-235 is approved 5-0. Next is Resolution 22-236, approved build grant project additional funding.
We're in the process of continuing on with the acquisition of right-of-way. We're in litigation. This allows us to have some flexibility on upgrading some of our offers as far as the purchase. Our attorney advises us this is the thing to do to have this money available so that we can move toward settling hopefully 2 of these cases. I mean, two of the particular plaintiffs' cases.
So
There's,
moved.
there's 3 plaintiffs, and this is for 2 of them.
We have a motion by Mr. McMasters,
Second.
second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call?
Ladner.
Aye.
McMaster's.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye. Resolution 22-236 is approved 4-1. Next is Resolution 22-237, intergovernmental agreement with Decatur City Board of Education regarding recreational facilities and parking lot at Austin High School.
The next 2 items on your agenda are related. This one is an agreement with Decatur City Board of Education for us to build a parking lot to have parking for the facility that's the next one. If both of them rely on each other. If we don't approve both of them, then we cannot go forward. So basically, this is as we said, an agreement whereby we build a parking lot for our use, and the school system can also use it. It's on their property for the use of the general citizens when they come to the ball fields and also when they attend activities at Austin High School. And then this also gives us the ability to use, if it's an overflow, we can use other city Board of Education properties. And it also allows us to have routes to get to all of these. And it just upgrades the whole facility.
So moved.
Austin High needs additional parking, I'm told. and this will provide that. Certainly, if we build the ball fields, we'll need parking for it. So it's a mutual benefit.
Have a motion by Mr. McMasters. Second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion?
I've not supported this from the beginning, and I won't support it tonight, either one of the two, so.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I'd like to thank the school board and Mr. Backus. I know he was involved in some of this. Thank you for your help in helping us with this and dotting i's and crossing t's and all that fun stuff. We appreciate it.
Well, you got one more hurdle to clear. Two
Well,
more.
they're gonna vote tomorrow.
Two more hurdles.
Once
to
y'all
clear.
vote, but yes, we appreciate
Up to
your
this point.
cooperation.
We're compartmentalizing this process.
All right, any other discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike. Pepper.
Aye. Resolution 22-237 is approved 4-1. Resolution 22-238 authorize Holland property purchase for recreational complex near Austin High School.
Yeah. Several months ago, you authorized the mayor to negotiate, to purchase this property at $37,000 an acre. And that's been accomplished, and it's now before you. It's like we just said, it's for the ball fields out in adjacent to Austin High School.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McMasters. Second by Mr. Pepper. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike. Pepper.
Aye. Resolution 22-238 is approved with a vote of 4-1. Next is Resolution 22-239, adopt a revised job classification and pay plan. Sandlin?
Rochelle Sandlin, HR Department. It's common knowledge that HR has been asked to conduct another market pay study this year. The market data group used for this study consisted of Decatur, Madison, Athens, City of Coleman, and is consistent with the pay studies that we've previously done and is a subset of those market data groups. This is the third study in 6 years, and the outcome of this most recent review remains consistent with the others. This study shows that the City of Decatur pay structure, defined as the job classifications and their assigned pay range, and the city's salary grade assignments for many of the 178 job classifications were found to be below the market averages based on a 5% rule, assuming a predicted market escalation of current data by at least 4%, if not more. We have seen the impacts of these pay gaps and ongoing challenges with recruitment, retention, and employee engagement. As you've seen and heard over recent weeks, and consistent with the prior two reviews, conducting market pay studies generates a lot of interest and brings certain expectations for outcomes. While we appreciate that natural and organic process, the recommendation brought to you tonight is based on the analysis of the data and the associated variables as relates to the City of Decatur. With approval of the Personnel Board, we are recommending that the city's pay structure, defined again as its job classifications and associated grades and steps, be adjusted as outlined in the resolution before you tonight, which includes a 6% market adjustment to the city's pay scale. Within the market adjusted pay structure, where job classifications, including succession classifications, are found to be greater than 5% below the average minimum starting point, those would be reclassified to a pay grade that corresponds to the average market data, with the affected employees moving laterally to the reclassified pay grade at a step equal or closest to their current pay status, and will include considerations given for limited scope internal equity adjustments in order to minimize or prevent grade compression, minimize or prevent step compression, and adjust for peer group equity. Where job classifications are found to be less than 5% below the market, they are considered aligned with market and will receive no pay grade reclassification in the job classification and pay structure. We have calculated an annual recurring cost of $2.9 million and have included a placeholder in the proposed FY23 budget. If approved, the recommended effective date would be Monday, October the 3rd, to coincide with the first day of a pay period. If approved, HR will take actions at that point to finalize and publish the corresponding job classification and pay plan with the recommended changes to job classifications and work with department heads in communicating changes or impacts with affected employees. And we thank you for your consideration on this matter.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McMaster, second by Mr. Pepper. Any discussion? I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind staying.
Don't
at the
mind.
podium. So just to clarify, 6% is for everyone, every employee.
Every employee would benefit.
It's not even employees, every position.
Every position.
557 gets 6% would be the minimum, and then if you're outside the 5%, there's an additional adjustment for those positions.
Correct.
My first question is, if you're already within we have some that are already within market, some positions of the 557, that they still get a 6%. Would that put anybody over market?
That will put a few positions slightly over market, yes.
Okay. And then, do you happen to know if 6% is the low end, what the high end would be? Is somebody gonna get a 20% potentially?
No, except for a reclassification of a job, a specific position. Didn't we average, at the top was 11% at the top?
So top end 11%. You mentioned retention and recruitment. I think you mentioned in the personnel board, we have about a 2% turnover. Am I wrong?
We have less than 1.4%.
Okay. So I'm struggling with the retention piece when we have that's unheard of in the world, in every organization. And then you mentioned recruitment, and I know I think we have 59 open positions, because I saw we hired one today. And most of those were PD, a big chunk of that is police department, and then we have a lot of equipment operators. And so that leads me to believe, just looking at that, I mean, that was over half of our open positions, right at it, was a little over 30, that we're really looking at, and this is just my perception, solving a problem in two specific areas by giving 557 raises. When maybe there's 40 or so, we have CDL driver issue, I'm aware of that, but it appears that we're solving that problem by giving everyone, casting a very wide net. And I know we've taught to have a big problem with the merit system because of that. It's not a system that rewards everyone no matter what. There's really no merit to it. So those are some of my initial issues. You know, I talked about in the personnel board meeting that when you look at a 2.9 million, and we can round to 3, or we can use 2.9, it's year over year. That's going to grow every time we give any COLA, and I'm for a COLA. I'm not at all advocating for no raise, but what we're looking at is a massive market adjustment. Would you agree? It's a big time move up in pay.
I fully agree, and I agree it's necessary.
And so we're looking at, you know, over 10 years, that's going to cost, the minimum is $30 million. It's more likely to be closer to 50 million when you factor in RSA and additional increases. There's a lot. Now, we can pay, I don't think there's any problem paying that. I think you're comfortable with it. That makes me comfortable with it. I just think it's important for people to remember you can do a lot with $50 million over 10 years. I think I've expressed my concern over headcount as a whole. You know, I want to understand the full picture of where we are. We got some of that information on Saturday. Very difficult to filter through that because every municipality is different. You have some that outsource their trash pickup, or we don't. So you really have to put together that puzzle, which I think we can do in further conversations, but there's no way we can know that today where we really rank. We didn't get Madison, who's the closest to our population. So I have continuing concern over where we are on headcount and how efficient we are. From what I understand, we're at the top of the list when it comes to benefits. We're being asked right now to be near the top, very competitive in pay, and we can't have the best benefits, the best pay, and the most people. It just doesn't work per capita. That's not feasible. We've got to be really efficient, and then we've got to look at pay and benefits together, in my opinion. Again, it seems to be, I don't see the retention issue, recruitment. I mean, I think you're looking at some specific cases. I would rather be more targeted in doing this than, you know, trying to solve an issue that looks to be pretty minimal with a very large net and giving. I think the saying is you don't bring a chainsaw when you need a scalpel. right? So it seems like we're just going, well, everybody gets 6% because we have some very specific issues to solve. So these are just some of my concerns with this plan. Again, I am not against a COLA. I argued for one last year. We gave one last year, fully open to that. But what we're being asked to do is a massive adjustment without, and really all we're looking at is pay. We're not looking at everything else involved with that. So those are my concerns that I've expressed multiple times.
I'll say that I have always been in favor of employee raises during a COLA. Just always have been. And in this particular regard, well, let me back up 1 second. We don't know what our economy holds for us. You know, different economists say different things about our economy's future. So that kind of scares me. So in this particular regard, I am for a 6% raise. I'm just not for it the way that it's laid out. I would go along with a 3% raise and then a 3% one-time pay raise at the same time, or later in the year or at December, so that it equates to 6%. But the fact of the matter is very simply that it is recurring, and we don't know what our economy is going to look like next year or the year after. So if we give a 6% this time, I would rather see us do it in a 3% COLA, 3% one-time cost of living adjustment, which would impact, I think, everyone's retirement, I guess. But that gives the city a little latitude and movement if our economy worsens, if it gets bad. It leaves us in a position where we can make adjustments. And I think that would be the frugal, yet a conscientious way of giving a 6% raise, but not being on the hook for it if our economy goes bad. Because the alternative if the economy goes south is that we lay people off. And that's the last thing that I want to do is lay people off because we've given a 6% COLA and we can't afford to do it in the future. So that concerns me significantly. I am for the 6%. I'm just for it in a different structure. I cannot support it the way that it is now. I will support a 6% if we broke it down into the 2 phases so that our employees can get it because they need it. But I think that my position has to always be the well-being and the health of our city, financially and in every other way. So that's where I am. I will support it if we can break it up into a 3% plus a 3% one-time cost adjustment. So I'll support it like that, but otherwise I cannot. And I hope the employees understand that. I think that every employee knows that I've always supported cost of living raises. Last year I wanted to do a one-time because I thought that we could do more for our employees with a one-time, but that's where I am on this position.
You know, our economy is, it has tremendous momentum, and I don't see it slowing down any. I visit a lot of our businesses, get to attend, very fortunate to attend a lot of events that's related to our economy. One of those was the Artemis launch that has pumped a lot of money into our economy and will continue to do so, especially if they can get it off the ground. But certainly building cars and tier suppliers and other companies that are coming in, we just announced a $320 million expansion for United Launch Alliance to build 47 rockets, the largest order for rockets in space exploration history right here in Decatur, Alabama. And more announcements, expansions are coming. Our challenge is to find the people. It is to get more people, and it's making it more challenging for the city with these private industry jobs to coming in. Based on some of the comments that I've heard, I think that mine are more statements that I believe are, that I'm committed to. I don't see that they necessarily will sway your votes. I would say that it's, when we ask HR to do a market analysis on compensation, and they come back and do all this work and as a team, and it's been a team effort, and they come back with information that says there's deficiencies, then what would we expect them to do, other than to bring forth that information and say, council, we would ask for your support in this?
Yeah, I think what HR was tasked with is what they brought to us. I mean, and
I think
then
they're
it's
doing their job.
And then we have to decide if we support that
Yeah,
or not.
I think they're doing
But I
their
mean,
job, but let me say this too, that you talked about our local economy, and yeah, there are some of our local businesses that are doing well and they're thriving. I'm talking from a national perspective, that our national economy is what we have to look at. And there's gonna be trickle down if nationally, if we bust and we start to have a rough economy nationally, it's going to trickle down to Decatur, Alabama too, regardless of what you think. So the fact is that I'm not, and I've never said, I know that we've got the funds there to give the 6%. It's there. And that's why I'm in favor of it. I'm in favor of it in a different way. I think that we've got to break it down so that we protect ourselves and supplement what the employees need as well. So I think that, you know, I'm not opposed in any stretch or form. I'm for the raise. I think that we have to protect ourselves as a city, and that's our job. And so that's kind of where I am.
Shoot, man, don't worry about the mule, load the wagon. Our economy is good and it can handle what's going on in the nation.
So says Tab.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's where I have problems.
To add to this tonight, I'm not a numbers guy. I'm not. I'm 20 years old and I don't have as much life experience as everybody else that sits up here tonight. One thing I do have is really good mentors, and some of those mentors are people that are tasked with putting things in front of us and not giving us a recommendation. Their job is to put facts in front of us and show us exactly what we need to know, and if we wanted to research on it, we can, and we're given the opportunity to figure out our own facts as well, so we're not just given one opinion. And when Mr. DeMeester was tasked with the job of CFO, the day after he got the job, he told me one thing that has stuck with me is that he would always shoot me straight, no matter what. He would always tell me correct. He would never give me any recommendation. He has not to this point. As well as Ms. Sandlin. Ms. Sandlin has never ever given a recommendation. It's always been, this is the facts, this is what we have, this is what you can do with it, and this is why you should do this or should not do this. And it's more been it's always been laid out very nicely for us. Tonight is a tough decision. It's not a very easy thing because, as Mr. Ladner and Mr. Jackson have both said, that this is going to be something that we have to look at over many years, and over a 10-year period. You know, close to $30 million is a lot of money. But one thing that I've come to learn while doing this job is, without the city employees, there's not much that's here. There's a little under. A little under 500 employees, but we budget for 557 employees. And without these employees, we don't have much. We don't have anything. And they assist in running the city in many different ways in each different department. And I think it's very vital that we take care of them. And I would like to echo what Mr. Jackson said in a way, understanding the structure. But I think that the way that this was presented to us tonight is the correct way to do it. A 6% increase, as well as a market adjustment for each position, seems like the right way to do things for us to be competitive with other cities. You know, I'm not saying that we have a recruitment issue. I'm not saying that we have a retention issue. But what I am saying is I see many departments throughout North Alabama that are increasing in their employees, and we're increasing some, you know, because we've increased the morale in some of the departments, but not enough. And I think that the pay is one thing that increases, I guess, anybody's morale. I mean, people go to a job expecting a paycheck. They have to pay their bills just like anybody else does, and the economy is it's falling apart day by day, I guess you could say. It's everything is more expensive. I mean, I could buy a cheeseburger at McDonald's 2 years ago for $1, and it's $1.89 now. I mean, it's 89 more cents, but it's still, everything goes up year by year, and we're going up a tiny bit. So I think it's very vital that we take this opportunity and set our pay scale where it needs to be.
I would ask that this council will consider a 3% raise and a 3% one-time pay increase in addition to that.
Can you, are you saying to move away from the market adjustment piece that if you
I think that
5%?
with the
just
market
not the way
adjustment, we
we
don't
think.
actually know exactly what the impact of that's going to be, I don't think. Am I?
I didn't hear the whole statement.
We don't know exactly what the financial impact of the market adjustment is going to be on our budget yet, do we?
2.9 million.
That's with the 6%.
That's with the
That's
6.
right.
So you know exactly what the well, I was thinking that we did not have a firm number of every position moving into the 5% range, do we?
In the 6% range, we do, yes.
No.
After the 6%.
After
Yes,
the
we
6%.
did.
If you give the 6%, Rochelle has looked at every position and moved properly to where they are now in market.
Okay, so the total is 2.9. Okay, good, that's good to know. I would ask still that we look at a 3% raise and then a 3% one-time cost of living, which equates to 6% this year.
Just this year, though.
That's this year.
But that's not enough.
It allows us the opportunity, if we need to come back next year and do it again, it allows us to address that. And if the economy is strong, then we come back and we can do it again, Mr. Pepper. But the fact is, if there's a downturn in our economy, then the recourse is to lay people off. And that's not what we want to do. And that's my concern, is that, and as far as attrition goes, we do have specific areas where we are losing people. We're losing the people with CDLs because they can go somewhere else and make more money instantly. I understand that. Then there's some areas, as Jacob said, that we don't have lose very many people. But I do think that the 6% is a fair range. But I do also think that I have to look at what is going to be best in the financial well-being of our city. So I would ask that we would look at a 3% and a 3%, and then the market analysis if it's already in there, to do that, so that they get the 6% that they deserve. Probably deserve a whole lot more, but the 6% that they deserve, and then when the budget rolls around next year, if we're capable of doing it, if we're in a strong financial situation, we can do it again. We can, but we're not locked into that, and it's not recurring, and that's my concern. So that's where I would like to be, and I ask the council to consider that tonight.
I kind of have, the same concerns that Mr. Jackson and Mr. Ladner do. Headcount's a concern. The cost isn't to me. Kyle says we can handle it, and the way the economy seemed to be tracked up to this point, it's 3 million now, could be 30 million, could be 50 million in 10 years, but what's our general fund? What are our revenues gonna look like in 10 years? My fear is it's not a retention. We don't have a retention problem. We have a recruitment problem. At the end of the day, we're a service provider. When your house is on fire, you need fire to show up. Bad guys there, you need police. We provide people. And if I'm afraid if we don't take care of our people, as we lose people to retirement or whatever, we're not gonna be competitive to replace those people. I just think at some point, we've gotta rip the Band-Aid off. And we did it with police just a year ago. We looked at PD pay and we adjusted it, and less than 3 months later, we were out again because everybody else had moved up. I don't claim to know all the answers, but I do believe that the majority of our employees do what they're supposed to do, and it bothers me that they're not at market. That's just, That's just my personal belief. I do wish that there was some accountability at the end of the year with this merit system, because how many people got a merit raise every year? 99%?
Not 100%, but pretty consistently.
Pretty close. I mean, and that's, anyway, that's, I could support this tonight as it is.
And I'm just gonna add to that. I would hope that the rest of the council, and again, I do understand where Mr. Ladner and Mr. Jackson are both coming from, but as Mr. McMaster said, you know, we do have a recruitment issue in a lot of areas, and whenever your house is on fire, the fire department comes running. Whenever your guys are in your yard, the police come running. I'm not saying that that's the only departments that we have a pay issue with, especially with our street and environmental, or there's a massive issue there as well. People want their garbage picked up. I mean, you want the limbs off the side of the road picked up. You want your trash picked up off the side of the road. I mean, I've counted 100 times that I've driven past a house where there's been boxes sitting outside there for months, and we haven't had anybody to come out and get them. I mean, we're short on people in a lot of different departments in the city. So I hope that the rest of the council tonight will join me in supporting this, so we can get to an area where we need to be. I know that we need to think about the future, and I think that this is not only us thinking about the future of our employees, but also the future of the city of Decatur when it comes to employee recruitment.
You just said we have a couple of areas where we're struggling with recruitment, and the solution before us is to then give everyone a raise. Everyone, not targeted, which I fully think we should do when there are those issues with recruitment and retention. I would get behind that. I cannot get behind a one-size-fits-all when there are specific areas that do need adjustments, but we're just going to go essentially blindly based on no merit. Say this is what we're doing. In fact, you said it. You said it at the personnel board. This is about positions, not people. So it can't be about merit. It just is about the position.
I didn't say it at the personnel board.
No, I'm talking about Ms. Sandlin.
So for me, I do think doing nothing is not an option. And I think, I'm not speaking for Mr. Jackson or Mr. Ladner, but I think they're both kind of saying that there is something we need to do. I told you, Rochelle and Kyle, both in conversations early in on this, that I do think we need to be relative to the market. This is a very aggressive approach. We know this is an issue that took a long time to get to. I'll just say it, I think that falls on past administrations. This was done in 2018, and one of my concerns, I said it in personnel board, was if this is not sustained, then the next council or the council after that will be in the same position. So sustainability is a big thing for me. I don't think we can just not do anything. I am concerned that we're gonna put people over market, and then we're gonna have people over 5% over market, and then we're still gonna have some that may actually be under. That's a little bit of an issue with me. At the personnel board, I spoke more on the merit increase. I'm a performance guy. I think we've got a bad mentality of just giving that out. And that starts with accountability from the top down. And that's our mayor and HR holding department directors accountable, and then holding everybody else accountable. And I'm not saying that's not being done, but it does seem that those have been going out for a long time. I'm not opposed to Mr. Jackson's approach to get us to market. I've struggled with the aggressiveness of this, the fact that we're trying to take one swing at something that's taken years to build. And I would agree, and Mr. Pepper said it, Mr. Ladner, and I think Mr. Jackson may have alluded to it, there's isolated issues in our pay. And then especially when it comes to recruitment, we've pretty much all said that retention's not the issue. There's a few departments where recruitment is hard. And Mr. McMaster said it, we did that with PD last year. If there were other issues elsewhere, I think we could address that. I've been all over the place on this one. As a matter of fact, my phone all day is ringing. People have called me to ask where I'm at, what I'm gonna do. And I said walking in here, I still wasn't sure. I'll save that for the vote, but I do have some concerns over this. I do think we need to look at a way to get to market for sure. I'm not saying that. I appreciate all of our employees. I don't think anybody up here doesn't do that. We know the work they do, the time they put in. and the commitment that they have. Because the city could not be what it is. We could not provide the services that we do without our employees. But I do think we've got to look at the long-term effects of this and what are the other options, and this is the only option that we've seen thus far. So I'll leave it at that. But
I'll say this, if we just round numbers out, and an employee makes $50,000 a year, 6% is gonna give him or her a $3,000 bump. If we can give 3% of it, and they get a $1,500 bump in their weekly or their bi-weekly salary, or we can give the $1,500 one time, and that still gets them to where they are, and they've got money to spend for Christmas or whatever else, pay bills off, whatever. But it gets them to where they're in the same position, and the city's in a position where next year and next year's budget, we can address it, and we can strive to get us to that market level. But I think that we are confined to whatever the cost is if we do it this way. And I think that's a problem. That's a concern. Well, I won't say it's a problem, it's a concern. And I think that we have a mechanism for getting there and addressing it in a year's time. But I don't. That's my feel for it, and I can't support it. Just the whole 6%, and that hurts me to say that. But that's where I'm at.
If I may add just a little more color to where we are today. In 2018, we proposed a plan based on an external third-party expert who came in and said, to get market relevant, here are our recommendations. The city at that time, leadership did not feel like the 100% alignment with market was cost feasible. So the city at that time adopted a pay scale that was still 10% below market. We proposed that with a recommendation that said for this to be sustainable and remain market relevant is that if it's within 10% on the minimum or the top end, it's considered market relevant. So we were already 10% below the market in 2018. The recommendation was that there be annual considerations for cost of living adjustments at 2 to 3.5% every year, that it be prioritized. It was never committed or promised. I've heard sort of that chatter. In the following year, it was 1.5%. The next year was COVID. No one could predict that. And then last year, it was 2.5%. So in a market that escalates 3% every year, we continue to slip further back. I think that employees will appreciate whatever the council feels is appropriate. The challenge we see with the one-time pay is it does not benefit them in their retirement calculation or the earnings toward retirement calculations. We heard from a gentleman who retired from the city many, many years ago during the retirement bonus discussion, who shared his frustration that for years that he was topped out without some considerations for a market adjustment in the pay scale. So I think, you know, the best recommendation we could come forward with is let's get it current, let's get it relevant, let's stop playing catch up. We believe that this will do that for the city. Yes, it's a 6% benefit to our employees, but I think they've earned it.
And just to add to that, one more thing, as she said, we need to get it current. We're playing catch up year by year by year by year, and it's recurring nonstop and over again. We need to get to a point to where we're not having to play catch up anymore. And then if 10 other cities that are comparable to us increase theirs, then I guess we're back in the same boat of having to play catch up again. But right now we're behind. Let's take the opportunity and quit playing catch up and get to where we need to be.
I just want to be clear, anytime somebody's using the term market, you are talking about market pay, and we are not taking benefits into any account where we're competitive as a package together. We haven't looked at that at all. We've looked at them separately, and we see that we do offer better benefits than pretty much anyone around us.
Not necessarily.
That's
she said we're at 50% with benefits, and if we got lower pay and we get 50% of that lower pay, then actually our benefit package might be equivalent or less than other people who are getting 40% who have a higher pay.
And what I would say is we don't know that.
That's exactly right. We don't know. So I'm just saying
we
can't say definitively that our benefit package is better. I have concern with that when we say that our benefit package is better because we're at 50%. That doesn't necessarily equate to better if our pay is less. So I mean,
and part of all this for me too is there's a lot we don't know, and it's hard to make this big of a jump and leap without knowing. And the last thing I'll say is, you know, I'm totally for a targeted approach. I know there's people from different departments here that maybe would fall into this group of needing some kind of adjustment. I just cannot get behind because one group needs it, that all 557 positions need it. Because some of those and I would just point to the vacant positions we have. When you look at the list of 60, I can point out some that there's no way we need. We know that they're overstaffed just in what we're budgeting. They've been open for 800 and 1,000 days, and we don't need those positions. So we would be giving those positions both a 6% raise and then a market adjustment. And it's very clear looking at this to me that we don't need them. So that's a major concern I have, that we don't have all that information and we're gonna take a blanket approach. I'm totally for targeted approaches when the department directors can make a case to HR and the mayor that it's needed within their department because of recruitment, retention, or just pay issues, but I can't get behind the blanket approach. So that's where
And
I'll
I'll
be.
support the blanket approach if we break it into two categories.
So, out of curiosity, as they're saying the retention issue and how we don't have a retention issue or, excuse me, recruitment issue in certain departments, what departments are behind? Or I guess you could say what departments are behind when it comes to playing catch up in other cities, comparable to other cities? So, I know that our police department, our fire department.
It's in an email that you got, and it's a lot.
Yeah, so let's
Well,
I mean, let's lay
let's
it
talk
out.
about recruitment retention. We are in a pay structure that's gold standard for government agencies, from federal to state to county. It's a grade step system. When we talk about retention, we have a 1.4% turnover. We've experienced low turnover year over year over year. It's when we're trying to recruit and backfill those positions that are competing against salary ranges, which is our structure, that make it difficult to recruit or be the employer of choice when we have candidates who have opportunities with different cities. What we've seen, and Kyle saw this in his department with accountants, our starting pay for an accountant was very low. So we had to go through multiple recruitment processes to find that candidate who is willing to come for that salary. Yes, we have great benefits, we have retirement, but we're competing in a very difficult culture in terms of what is going to be my starting pay. We also have internal engagement issues when we do isolated adjustments. It creates, rightly or wrongly, it just is, it creates internal disengagement when a group or a job classification is adjusted. I'm just saying that it does create challenges.
So would you say that the majority of our departments are behind?
I would say a large group of our positions in terms of the position and the pay grade against the market are behind the market, yes.
But
they're not all equally behind.
That they are not all equally behind. That's why we chose the 5% rule, so that we could stay, instead of consistently staying behind and trying to catch up and hearing the constant chatter about this city pays that, or they got a COLA and our neighbors over here got 5%. We proposed a plan that would get us where we need to be so that we could sustain it rather than try to continue to catch it up.
I threw it out there again. I would like ask the council to break it up into two parts.
So can I add that to your proposal? Is the breaking up of the second piece because of concern with the economy? Because, and I'll get into this next Monday, the budget is built with safeguards to withstand certain things like you're talking about. So I'm not budgeting for exactly what we made this year, next year, because I'm thinking about the same things you're thinking about from an economic standpoint.
But I think, Kyle, we have to look at not only this year and next year, we have to look at that
Right.
this is recurring forever.
So if I gave you a revenue trend of the last 10 years,
A revenue trend for the
past 10 years,
Okay.
there's been consistent growth year after year, even through a pandemic.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing with you.
Yeah.
You've just made comments in previous budget sessions that have always questioned our revenue projections, and they've always skyrocketed over budget. And that's part of our problem.
And that's been a good thing.
It is a good thing.
That's been a good thing.
But here we are making a
But-
decision because of money,
Yeah, that's been a
because
good
we're
thing,
scared
but
we don't have
We
it.
can't say that that's always gonna be the situation. And even though we've got safeguards in place, they're not going to protect us for an extended period of time. They're just not.
And I'm not sitting here saying that I have a crystal ball that says it will, but I'm telling you the last 10 years are telling me there's a good chance it probably will be supported.
The only thing we really know, though, is that this will cost between $30 and $50 million. We really don't. I mean, you can look at projections, and I agree with that. I think you would too. I mean, you have to look at projections to look forward, but we do know what this cost will be.
Well, if it doesn't pass tonight, I look forward to continuing to play the game to catch up. So.
And I guess I understand. It's kind of weird because I understand exactly what everybody's saying up here. I do. I just happen to be on a different side because at what point do we stop playing catch up? I'm agreeing with Hunter.
Or kicking the can.
Well, it's
because they have been kicking the can. Each administration.
You've got to.
That goes back the previous, not to the last administration, but the previous two before that. That's it. Before that, we had budget increases, COLAs almost every year prior to the 2008 and 2012 term.
But in our financial position, there's nothing that convinces me, based on your past record, that you would do what you say you're gonna do next year.
No one's gonna, even if we do this tonight, there's nothing that says that the next council is going to give a COLA at all. There's nothing that says that.
I'm saying even next year.
Or even next year. There's nothing that guarantees that. So, again, we've got an opportunity to increase our employees' pay scale, to give them money, and I'm for that. But I think that we have to be frugal in that approach as well. That's just me. Now, we can do whatever the council decides to do, but that's just me.
So to add to what Mr. Jackson said, and I'm not disagreeing with Mr. Jackson either, but I will say this, that 3% would be what, $1,500? You said it'd be $1,500 one-time pay increase.
For a $50,000 a year employee.
For a $50,000, yeah, so $1,500, $50,000 a year employee. I'm guessing the majority of our city employees, when it comes to, I don't want to just say I don't want to prioritize just the first responder department. I'm very large on that department, but I would say the majority of them don't make over $50,000 a year, especially starting out.
I'll simply use that for a round number. That was it.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. But for $1,500, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I'm not going to reference my job here, but I sometimes don't have time to go home and cook meals. So I'm on the road constantly, and I'm having to pay for meals and having to pay for gas, and $1,500 doesn't last me very long. And
But this year, it would give them the same amount. It gives us the opportunity to look at it again next year. That's all I'm saying.
And I agree with you.
It gives them, a $50,000 a year employee would make $3,000. They're still gonna make that $3,000 this year, except they get part of it in hand now, part of it spread out over the 26 pay period.
Except for the market.
But what do we do with the
Except for the market
adjustment?
It sounds like we wouldn't get a market adjustment if we did that.
And I mean, and that's the part that we're still prolonging is, it sounds like everybody up here is okay with 6%, but at what point do we get where we need to be?
I don't think everybody up here.
We do it now.
Well,
we get the opportunity.
Well, maybe not everybody.
I am in areas that this is no different than at my old job. As you said, we're having a really hard time recruiting and retaining accountants and customer service reps. So we said, we're just going to give everybody a raise.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. And that's my issue. So if we're targeted, I have no problem with that, like we were last year.
So what is the targeted approach?
The targeted
where are you at on
approach
that?
is moving job classifications into a higher pay grade, and what that does is create compression. What that does is move positions into pay grades that could possibly be managerial or department head pay grades. It could be in the police department or fire department. It could move pay, a firefighter would move into a pay grade, so there's a trickle effect. If we move one up, the whole succession has to move up.
It's a nightmare.
It's a challenge. Yeah.
And not only that, it only targets certain areas. And I'm not saying that we don't just need to target certain areas, but we have an opportunity to fix everybody's pay. So let's take the opportunity and go with it.
Well, they had that in 2018 too, and they did it, and then they did not prioritize it, and Demeester can say it, we prioritized the COLA last year, first thing we said.
Well, hopefully
We had
this
our
council will
first
continue to
discussion.
prioritize it. But, I mean, after our term is up, if we're still here, well, so be it. If we're not, we can't do anything about it. But we have an opportunity to chase it now, so let's do what we can while we have an opportunity to.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? And if, depending on how the vote, if it's approved, we move it forward into the budget. If it's not, we would consider other options like the one Mr. Jackson laid out is kind of what my thought is.
Which we would have to do this month.
Soon, yeah. But we
Too hard of a
can.
process. So it'd be simple, just
It's
to.
not at all too hard of a process.
It's a longer process.
Well,
not at
it is complex because,
Not his proposal.
well, it requires budget adjustments, it requires personnel board approval, it's layers
But
to it
it's
that,
definitely doable.
oh yeah, I'm not arguing that, but it's not a
But it's not
24-hour
easy.
turnaround.
Yeah, it's not an easy process in a way.
Shouldn't be easy. All right, any other discussion? Roll call?
Ladner,
No.
McMaster,
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Pike,
No.
Pepper.
Aye.
All right, resolution 22-239,
Thank you.
is not approved with a vote of 3-2. We have ordinances, first reading next. Ordinance number 22-4530, approved request for limousine license for Select Transportation LLC at 445 East Moulton Street Northeast, Decatur, Alabama 35601. Matt, this is Lori's.
Sorry, I was gonna say.
Okay, yeah, we're asking for immediate consideration on this. It's a lengthy process for them that they've gone through, and they're ready to get started.
All right,
Move for immediate consideration.
I'll second
motion by Mr. McMaster, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call?
Ladner.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Immediate considerations approved 5-0. Need a motion for the ordinance.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call?
Ladner.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Ordinance 22-4530 is approved 5-0. Ordinance 22-4531, approve annexation 36922, an 11.17 acre property located at 2319 Old Moulton Road Southwest. Matt?
Yes, sir. This was originally approved in April, but it was held up due to a deeding issue. So because of how it interacts with another piece of property that needs to be contiguous so that it can be annexed after it's pre-zoning, it's actually across the street on Old Moulton, we would request that we would have immediate consideration for this also.
Move for immediate consideration.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McMaster, second by Mr. Pike for immediate consideration. Any discussion? Roll call?
Ladner.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Immediate consideration approved 5-0.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McMasters,
Second.
second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call?
Ladner.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Ordinance 22-4531 is approved 5-0. Next council work session will be held on September 12th, 2022 at 5 p.m. The next regular council meeting will be held on September 19th, 2022 at 10 a.m. Anything else from department directors? Mayors?
Oh, I have something.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
So, this severely changes the budget, everything that I've presented to you all. I need to know where we're going from here so that I can present something Monday to hopefully get across the finish line before
I'm gonna need
September
longer than
30th.
tonight.
Okay.
We'll need to have a called work session, and I'll work on that, getting that together just to talk about that issue, really, how we adjust the pay.
Okay.
And then, we can discuss that on Monday as well. And then I hope I'm not bursting your bubble, but there's no way we're meeting this coming Monday in a work session and approving the budget the next week.
Well, I just want you to know that it has to be approved by the 30th.
Yeah, I understand.
Otherwise, the
And
budget.
we'll meet as
Okay.
many times as we need to
Okay.
work it out. So, we'll get Stephanie can help us. We'll try to get some dates for everybody to see when we can meet to discuss that. But we'll get it done by the end of the month, so.
Thank
All
you.
right, anything else from department directors? Mayor said nothing. All right, anything else from council? All right, we'll stand adjourned. Thanks.